I'm not discouraging you from voting. I'm only saying that voting is something like a 10th order of importance, if that. I'm speaking to you in the context of knowing that most people believe that voting is the extent of their political activism, and I'm saying that that is patently false. I'm only calling to mind objective material reality of our society that we live in. We live in the political economy of capitalism. Wealth and power dictate government policy. The government is captured by the capitalist ownership class, Republicans and Democrats. It is one big spectacle. They are offense and defense for the same team. That team is transnational stateless corporations who behave like kings and queens of our day. I don't subscribe to or believe in the theory of harm reduction when it comes to a corporate duopoly. You want to say that I'm privileged because I am not going to vote for Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. We could say the same thing for you, because it is Kamala Harris who is complicit in a genocide right now of 300,000 plus Palestinians. So you're not in that social group. So you are projecting your own place of privilege in this. The fact that you are not direct victims of our imperial policies that are being done in our name and with our money, then you have the privilege of focusing on other policies that you like or dislike. When the ballot only contains two options and both options are genocidal Zionists, you have the privilege of not having to focus on that because you're not personally affected and neither are your friends or your family. That consequence is displaced temporally and spatially halfway across the world. So what does it matter to you? Is it not the most egregious, excessive show of privilege to not have to factor in a literal genocide being done in your name and with your money when you are weighing in which political candidate you're going to vote for? The point is, Trump 2.0 is a political reality only because of the Democratic Party. The fact that we are even still talking about Donald Trump in 2024 is a gross failure of the Democratic Party. So what do we do, you ask? I believe real power, real change, transcendental social change comes from the economy, and it doesn't come from politics. I do not advocate for the political avenues that are in place for us. I don't believe that any social change has ever come from voting, and I think that the historical record bears that out. As they say, if voting changed anything, they would make it illegal. What do? We need more organizing. We need more labor institutions. We need more institutions devoted to the working class. But we cannot organize if we do not educate and agitate people first. In order to have societal change, you need actions. But in order for you to have the right actions, you need the right thoughts. You need the right ideas. So I believe as a teacher, as an educator, that is what I'm doing. My contribution to the working class is to articulate and communicate these ideas so that it will mobilize other members of the working class and there can be more meaningful actions that take place in the service of the right goals. Obviously, this election is going to yield one of the two candidates, and there's no changing that. So no one's saying we gotta go burn down Chase Manhattan. I am speaking to you in the context of understanding that most people out there think that voting is the end-all be-all to this democracy, and I'm telling you that it is a highly restrictive form of democracy. We are ratifying decisions that have already been made. We are in a class war. There are times in war to attack and times to retreat. We should be organizing in the background, waiting for the next inevitable capitalist crisis to present itself so that we can go on the offensive. I appreciate your question, and here's my sincere answer. Your question presumes that we vote in the first place, to begin with, in America. I disagree with this presumption. I do not believe that we vote in America, because voting in a corporate duopoly just means ratifying decisions that have already been made. I understand that it looks like you're voting. I mean, you go to the ballot box, you fill out the ballot for the candidate of your choice, but that choice is highly restricted because the candidates have already been vetted by the financial institutions that funded them in the first place. We have no meaningful decision making in the voting process. We employ no meaningful agency over public life, over public policy. A better, more accurate term to describe the political agency we have as American working class members of society is ratify. We do not vote, we ratify decisions already made by the business class I do not use my platform to advocate ratifying the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, especially when both parties fund a genocide. This should be obvious, but it is not. We cannot identify a solution if we do not identify the problem first. And fundamentally, we do not have enough people who have come to terms with our government and the way that it's structured, the way that it is vulnerable to special interest lobby groups, even foreign agents like AIPAC. We have a political economy of capitalism where wealth and power dictate public policy. That is an incontrovertible fact.
People have it backwards. The burden of proof is on those who exercise power. The onus is on those who give orders, not take orders. It is not our job to prove a power system's legitimacy. It is the power system that must prove its legitimacy to us. And if it can't, then it deserves to be dismantled and reconstituted from the bottom up. Politicians, elected officials, these are public servants. They derive their power from the public, and their power can be rescinded.
It's so twisted. They accuse the left of not having any solutions. Meanwhile, they can't even identify the problem. It is not our job as the working class members of society to spell out a foolproof plan for the future of our society that is perfect and a utopia. No one has a monopoly on social change. What we can do is identify, articulate, communicate, and educate people to the problems that we're facing as a society today, and organize against them. For after all, it takes institutions to fight institutions. As a rule, power should always be assumed illegitimate until it proves itself otherwise. Islam versus Judaism. No, indigenous versus colonizers. But this started on October 7th. October 7th, 1948, maybe. But 622 AD has nothing to do with 1948. Israel has been around for thousands of years. Israel's been around for exactly 76 years. Israel is ancient. My dad is older than Israel. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael lie. The Bible said so. Well, international law says no. This is terrorism against a sovereign country. Yeah, the terrorism of Israel against the sovereign Palestine. No, Palestinian terror versus Israeli democracy. No, third world armed resistance versus barbaric occupiers committing state-sanctioned terrorism. Israel was promised to the Jews. Uganda was promised to the Scientologists. That sounds crazy. Well, that's because it is, and you are. Communists have infiltrated all of our institutions. Black people are raping our white women. Communists are literally eating babies for breakfast. Immigrants are taking our jobs. More immigrants are taking more jobs. Terrorists are attacking our freedom. Brown people are beheading our babies. Immigrants are eating our dogs. Dogs are immigrating to China.
Nixon ordered Cambodian genocide. Clinton sent cruise missiles to Sudan, people died. Obama gave the orders to do drone strikes.